Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you are a real estate investor, real estate wholesaler, or just a real estate professional in general, let me tell you, you're going to want to stop and check this interview out. I'm about to interview Alex Jandick, and this guy has what I believe an amazing story. Amazing story as just a real estate investor, but also a amazing story about an entrepreneur, kind of what we all want in our own lives, what we kind of strive. So this is a great story of how he's kind of grown from a career, out of college and then kind of drifting into real estate, having that dream, having that vision, setting his goal for himself and his family, getting into real estate. And I'm going to go into some of the obstacles he's overcome, basically his success. He's really gone from zero to a multiple six-figure income just through real estate wholesaling in less than 3 years. And the crazy part is he's actually been able to do it by leveraging one amazing software, which we will get into that during this interview. Alex is going to share with us his story from his early days, how he got into real estate wholesaling, what was that driving moment for him to, make that jump and go all in. And he's going to share a little bit about his strategies, how he's been able to do it, stay consistent, keep a full pipeline of leads, and how he's been able to close them all the way to get that check. So welcome everybody. Sit still, grab, a bucket of popcorn and a drink. You're definitely going to want to check this out. So, Alex, man, thank you for taking the time to be with us. I know you have a crazy schedule, and I know you just closed on a big deal as well, too, which I'm excited to hear. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for having me on again. It is always super, super awesome to be on. I apologize in advance for skipping around, for cats coming and sitting in my lap, or for baby screaming in the background, full disclaimer. But yeah, I hope that if there's one thing that everyone can get out of this today, it's just to be inspired and never give up on your goals, and set your goals super high too.
Definitely. Well, we've talked before in the past, and we kind of really just talked about what you've been doing at this moment in this last year. We've never really talked about where it all started. And man, your story is a long story. It's a great one, and I'm excited to get in. But let's go all the way back because you are a young guy, you got a young family. Man, where did your whole career start? And you went to college, kind of fresh out of college. Where did it all start before you decided, man, I'm going to get into real estate investing?
So that brings us way back to 2012, 2013. Um, I was just finishing up my bachelor's degree, and I grew up in a family where if you didn't go to college, you got started and just worked right away. And my dad owns a sign business, and I just knew it wasn't the route that I wanted to take, so I went to college. And as I was just finishing up my degree, I was looking to get into physical therapy, actually, of one of the many major things, or one of the many majors that I had in college, and that just wasn't panning out. Um, I was working at a physical therapy clinic making, I think, $10 an hour, and that was kind of when I had, like, one of my first, I call them screw this moments. I'm like, screw this, I should be doing better than this. So I was applying to an MBA program, and I decided, what's stopping me from working like a 50K a year job? So I went on LinkedIn, and they had this new feature called one click apply, and I was just applying to like hundreds of jobs a night, and I would get phone calls back. People would call me back and they say, "Hey, you applied for this job," and I'd have to look up the company really quick, pretend I knew about it. And this company called AccuQuest actually called me back. It was a hearing aid company, and keep in mind, this is in Chicago, Illinois. I live in Florida now, but this is back when I lived in Chicago. And went in for an interview. Ended up, getting the job. It was a medical device sales job. Um, and I loved it. It was great. I thought I was doing super, super well. I was working. I was selling hearing aids. I was getting my MBA. We were planning a wedding at the same time. And here's cat number one. And I'm probably going to skip around a lot in this story just because, like, so much happened so fast. But so I was working that job, and it was, paying anywhere between 75 grand to 100 grand a year. It was good. Living a pretty good lifestyle, but I always wanted something more. So one thing that my MBA taught me was time management, because I had what I felt like was zero time, even this is before I had a daughter. So it was, I was that kid in school that like in my undergrad, I think my GPA was like 2.6 cumulative. I was just not very good at getting good grades and stuff I wasn't interested in. When I did my MBA,
Mhm.
that's when stuff started clicking. I held a 4.0 for like over half the program. And I was like, all right, business makes sense to me. So I was still working as a hearing aid specialist, and I had this administrative assistant, uh, retired Navy guy. I'll never forget him. His name was Jason. And Jason was incredibly annoying and would not stop talking about real estate. And I'm like, dude, real estate, there's just no money in real estate right now. It's 2014, 2015. Come on. That's going to happen at least six more times. Like it's 2014, 2015, man. I was like, I just got done with my MBA. I'm going to work my way up this corporate ladder here. And he's like, no, man. He's like, I'm going to buy these apartments. He's like, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, maybe there's something going on in this real estate thing, maybe something. So started doing a little bit of research on it, and while I was working at that hearing aid job, when you get your first job with a salary straight out of college, you're just like, I got it, like I made it. And then when you really start kind of getting into the real world, like you're like, oh well, I have a nice job. Let me get a nice car. So of course, I bought a brand new Mustang. And then after I graduated from my MBA, 6 months after you graduate, your student loans become due. Of course, I never looked at what the monthly payment on that would be. So there was that payment, and my wife's became due because she got her master's too. And all of a sudden, it's kind of like having an extra mortgage between car payments and student loan payments. And, that 75 grand to 100 grand per year wasn't such a big amount anymore. And I was like, man, I was like, to really live a good lifestyle, I'm gonna have to, make more than this. I'm gonna have to do something else. So started looking into real estate more heavily, and that's about the time when Jason actually quit his job because he bought an apartment building. And I was like, how are you just gonna like quit your job and buy an apartment building? And he talked about the numbers with me, and I realized that tenants paying rent basically paid him salary every year. And I was like, wow, okay. So I think I Googled how to make money quick in real estate, came across Tom Kroll's Wholesaling Inc. course, bought that course. Keep in mind, I'm still in Chicago, and I was trying to wholesale virtually in Florida, which is a little bit harder than they make it out to be. um,
Yeah.
so somewhere in there, here's where I skip around. We did get married. We did a destination wedding on St. Pete Beach. And we like 6 months later, we were vacationing in Florida, and then we decided to move down here. My wife has some family down here, and that's when I really started to get into wholesaling more heavily. I was still working as a hearing aid specialist for about a year and a half down here, but the jobs just didn't pan out like they did in Chicago. I just couldn't make enough money, just wasn't working. And that's when I started to finally have it click after like 15 months of trial and error with wholesaling. And once you pop your first deal, it just kind of goes on from there. So I guess that's kind of like the 30,000 foot overview of it.
Okay. So then what was that defining moment that really just made you kind of switch and be like, I'm going all in on wholesaling. I'm going all in, whether I'm going all in on real estate, made you switch from, the typical 9 to 5 commissions job to getting real serious about real estate.
So I was working at a company in Brandon, Florida. Um, and that's a first suburb just to the east of Tampa. And I'd switched hearing aid companies because one promised me a better salary and commission, so I switched over, and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. The guy who hired me actually ended up getting fired within like a month of me working there, and I realized the commission structure. He kind of lied to me about it. There were a lot of gray areas with it, and I was going to make about 30 grand less than I thought I would that year at that job. And I was just like, well, I was like, kind of at that point, I'd closed my first real estate deal. I think I actually closed my second one too. In between those two, I'd made like 21 grand. And I was like, okay, like, I think I can do this. And I just kind of put the pieces into play. Luckily, the guy that I closed my first two deals with, I JV'd with the guy. He offered me a position as an acquisition manager at his wholesaling firm. And I took it. I still remember walking out of the hearing aid clinic and just kind of, when you do hearing aids, you have to have a board certification and a license. And I knew I was going to let both of those lapse. I was kind of just like, I'm just going to burn the ships. Let's go for it. And I did. I think I actually gave the hearing aid place the middle finger on the way out. I was pretty upset about, when someone tells you you're going to get paid a certain amount and then it's
Yeah.
significantly less than that, you don't walk out with a good taste in your mouth.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it
Yeah.
was it was definitely a money motivating factor, for that first walk out there.
Dang. And then how was the time period doing acquisitions for that, I guess the wholesaler you're working with?
It started off good. It was about a 13-month time frame. So keep in mind, I had sourced and JV'd on those two deals before I had been a full-time acquisition manager. So I kind of knew the process from start to finish. And I'm one of those guys where I have a problem staying in my lane. So I just kept on finding deals, getting them under contract, and then on a few of them, I found my own buyer, and I only got a portion of the money from it. And I'm just like, just doesn't like sit right with me. I'm doing 90% of the work and only getting like 25 to 50% of the pay.
Yeah.
Um, and then at the end of it, there were three deals that didn't close that were supposed to, and for a total of like 25 grand. And that really left me high and dry. Just, keep in mind being, in the rat race, still, getting a paycheck and whatnot, you're dependent on that paycheck.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't really have an emergency fund. Um, so I was actually we were actually on vacation in London at the time, on a vacation we really couldn't afford, but it was fun anyway. I kind of broke down to my wife on some street in the middle of London. I was like, "Hey, like we literally have like a month left to go before we're out of money, and I don't know what I'm gonna do." So that was not a comfortable moment. Um, yeah, man, it honestly brings back like the memories of how uncomfortable it was. And from there, thank God we had joined a mastermind, also with money we didn't have. But this was part of the vision. Like we needed that guidance. And I remember just
Mhm.
getting back to the US and calling my business coach, one morning on the way to work. And I was like, it's kind of an emergency. I don't know what to do. And he's like, listen, man, he's like, this is all going to work out. He's like, just relax. He's like, you got to just put pieces into play and make it happen. Um, so it was maybe a week later, not even, that I was sitting at work on a Monday. I was going to tell my business partner, hey, here's my 2-week notice. And I think at the time I realized, I was like, wait, like I'm a 1099 contractor. I don't have to give anyone a 2-week notice. So I literally called him at like 7:30 in the morning. I was like, man, I'm just not doing well right now. I quit. Sorry. That's pretty much it. And I just remember packing my stuff up into a box, and the other guys that I work with literally were walking into the office, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm sorry, guys, I quit." They're like, "What do you mean you quit?" I was like, I quit. I'm done." And walked out of there, drove home, and my wife was there, and she like greeted me, and she's like, "Well, now what?" And I was like, "Now we get some freaking deals under contract and close them is what we do." I was like, "Otherwise, we're going to be evicted."
So at that moment of transition, obviously that was your big push, I guess were you kind of starting from scratch all over again because you're now going on your own? Did you kind of already have relationships and a pipeline kind of already built? Or did you have to leave that all behind at the last place you worked at and be like, all right, I'm starting from scratch, like blank
So
canvas?
Obviously, I couldn't take any of their leads from that company. That was their proprietary information, and I'm not. I I didn't like how the marketing was done, so I didn't want to deal with any of those leads anyway. So that was their stuff. So I pretty much started from fresh. I had a few leads of my own from like way back before I started the acquisition manager process or job, but everything that I closed from September 3rd, 2019 is when I walked out. From everything that I closed from September 3rd, 2019 to the end of that year, those 3, 4 months there, which was like 95 grand in deals, that was all just fresh stuff that I generated really, really quick. So I was just like texting nonstop. I was just glued to a computer, and I was like, I have no other choice except to make this work. Like, I can't fail. So pretty much starting from scratch.
All right. So then what type of marketing were you using before you got into SMS marketing?
So when I started before the acquisition manager position, I was doing direct mail for the most part. That's kind of what a lot of wholesalers start with, just sending a ton of direct mail.
Mhm.
And for various reasons, I was just not a fan of it. Towards the end, when I was just about to take the acquisition manager position, I did do a few RVMs and a little bit of texting, but I didn't really get too deep into it, so I didn't know too much about it.
So, what obstacles were you kind of facing implementing these other marketing strategies?
So with direct mail, first and foremost, although it's very effective, it's also very expensive. Postcards are like 33 cents a piece. If you're going to blast someone 7 times, that's $2.10. Multiply that by 2 to 5,000 leads. That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
Plus, it's very messy. When you get returned postcards, you have to have a PO box. It's going to fill up your PO box very fast, and the mail place is going to complain to you. You can have the postcard sent home to your own mailbox, but then you're literally going to have a mailbox full of postcards. So it was messy, time consuming, tough to track campaigns. And RVMs were great, but you have to be glued to a phone to take the incoming calls. Um, so that kind of put me towards text messaging. It was just easier, much cleaner. Didn't have to hear people's voices screaming at me. And that was actually a really big plus because when I worked as an acquisition manager, most of what we did was just phone time, like hours and hours of phone time. And I will tell you, after getting yelled at on the phone by like 12 people a day for a year straight, it gets to you. It's just like, do you really want to make that next phone call, or do you want to have someone saying "f you," or I'm going to hunt you down and kill you, or making some other crazy threat to you? Because people say the craziest stuff
Oh,
to real
yeah.
investors. You know
Yeah.
about
Yeah. I've heard some weird stuff, some crazy stuff. You hear it all, man. You
it. You
hear it
really
all.
do. You really
I
do.
I swear, like real estate investors, we can make a coffee book, a nice thick coffee book of just things that people have said to us.
Yeah, yeah. You really could. So I didn't want to hear that. That's why I was like, text messaging. I just go through and cherry pick the people that I want to talk to. The ones that are mean to me, I'll usually either hit, do not call back or add them to the DNC list, or like I'll rate their joke. I'll be like, 3 stars out of 10, could have done better. Uh, and they'll, be like, what are you talking about? Or anyway, don't don't do that. Not a good idea. Just for personal humor once in a while.
It's good to have fun, though, right? It's good to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. But don't piss too many people off.
So then, how did you come across Smarter Contact?
So this is actually kind of a unique story. When I was working as an acquisition manager, um, in 2018, 2019, uh, Adam, the creator of Smarter Contact, just so happened to have like a WeWork style like rental office in downtown Tampa, one building over from ours, but he parked in our parking lot of our building, so it was very inexpensive. So for those of you who don't know Adam, and he probably doesn't care if I say this, Adam drives a super nice Mercedes Benz, and he kind of told me the story of how he got that car. He worked his butt off flipping houses virtually and whatnot,
Mhm.
and saved up and he bought it. So him and I kind of got to talking, and like I kind of noticed I'd get to work super early and leave super late, and his car was always there. Like he was a workaholic, man. So when I was working as an acquisition manager, our company actually started off using some of the earlier versions of Smarter Contact. We had VAs use them, but I kind of got like a little bit of a snapshot of how it worked. And we ended up stopping because the software in its early days would crash, and we just I guess my partner couldn't tolerate that. So anyway, I'd known Adam from that, and he used to come into the office and he'd specifically ask us, "Hey guys, like, what do you like about the software? What don't you like?" And we'd be like, "Oh, if you could change this, this, and this." So I just knew the kind of quality guy that Adam was, and I could just see how hard he was working to make this platform work. So when I was started off with my own wholesaling, I remember looking, I was like, should I do, it was between Lead Sherpa and it was between Smarter Contact. Um, Come on, man. Come on. And I remember choosing Smarter Contact because I knew Adam and I knew how hard he had worked to really build it from scratch. Um, so that's kind of the story of why I went with it. I'm a big believer in Adam as a person and the direction that he's taken the company. And to be honest, I never thought it would kind of balloon into what it's ballooned into today. It's kind of cool to say I was in on the ground floor. So if he ever goes public, I'm buying stock.
Well, hopefully we do. So in that case, man, how has it been? How has wholesaling been for you since implementing smarter contact?
Smarter Contact is great because it gives me the flexibility to market whenever I want, wherever I want, however I want. So, like, what I'll do, I have to have a very flexible schedule because my wife and I, we have a 9-month-old daughter, and it's our firstborn. So we're, constantly taking care of her. I work from home. So, like, just to give you an idea of like the flexibility, like, I will sometimes send out a campaign, go eat lunch for an hour with my wife and daughter. We'll go for a walk around the block. I'll wait for all the responses to come in. And then once all the responses are in from the campaign, I will cherry pick, the three or four that I can tell are going to turn into deals.
Mhm.
And then either ignore the rest or, just uh, rate them and then respond to them at a later time. I really like that because sometimes I'll only have the opportunity to work a couple hours in a day, especially if my daughter has a doctor's appointment or like if my wife is working and I have my daughter. So I'll send, text blasts out at 4 p.m. and I won't get to the responses to the next day. I just repeat the process. So it's the amount of flexibility you have a Smarter Contact is incredible. Um, I don't think any other platform gives you any flexibility like that. Um, Plus, I don't have to talk to people on the phone, which I I'm one of those people, like, if it can be solved with a text or email, let's do it that way.
Yeah.
Versus a phone call. I just believe they're an incredible waste of time, especially for the amount of people that you have to physically talk to before you get a deal. It's just it's hours as opposed to just cherry picking through text messages. So, bottom line, I just love the flexibility of it.
And then what have been the results so far with implementing not just SMS marketing, but smarter contact specifically?
In 2020, I had to write it down on here, so I track all my deals. In 2020, specifically from Smarter Contact, we did 257,000 gross revenue. The net on that, since Smarter Contact is so incredibly cost efficient, I don't have the net in front of me. I'm guessing the net on that would probably be like 237. Um, and that's from 11 deals. So I try to really maximize each deal.
Hmm.
That's from 11 deals. So I couldn't even tell you how many leads that is because again, I cherry pick them.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not like the typical person who says, "Okay, we'll talk to these." Get off the keyboard, please. That's what time number four. I said this happened what 6 more times. So just how it goes at the Jandick household.
Oh man.
Um, so yeah, it's been a pretty incredible. That's just 2020. I didn't even count the 2019 results.
Oh man. Okay, and then that's just absolutely amazing, and it's just crazy. It's all been from one marketing strategy, and really been relying on just one tool to make it happen. Because man, there's a lot of people who would love basically one deal a month, especially to be able to gross that amount too from those amount of deals. So, what has been your day to day strategy? You kind of briefly talked about, you'll do a campaign, go spend time with your family. Obviously the platform gives you that flexibility. Do you kind of have a day to day strategy, or is it more like a weekly or a monthly strategy? How do you kind of walk us through, I guess, your marketing strategy, the typical workflow?
Um, it varies so much. So let's say I send out a campaign and I cherry pick a deal. I know it's going to be a deal. Um, I'll take that and not to sound cocky, but most of the time, if the person's motivated enough, I can get it under contract within like a week.
Mm.
Um, or if it's, a follow-up deal, been following up with someone, get it under contract. A lot of my day is actually spent solving title issues, oddly enough.
Oh, wow.
So the reason why I believe, I said the amount of deals I did and what we're grossing per each deal. The reason why I do believe that we've been able to grow such a high amount is because some of these deals, especially the one that we just closed, which was our biggest deal ever, the amount of title issues on it was just insane. Between, IRS liens, beating a tax auction. Sometimes we're saving homes from foreclosure and stuff like that. So, like, what I do each day, let's say I was under contract with you, Daniel, and let's say you're selling me a house and you're just a super distressed owner. Like, every day from contract until closing, you're probably going to hear either from me or from my wife, who helps me in the business. So, where I'm walking people through, okay, hey, here's the next step. With the short sale with the bank, or hey, here's the next step. We're having the CPA get the payoff from the IRS, and we're just really giving people the red carpet treatment. I know a lot of people are like, dude, that sounds like you're a glorified title agent. It's kind of like, yeah, dude, I am. I like to go after the deals that no one else goes after, or that are just really, really tough to get done. And that's kind of the day to day. I don't spend too much time marketing and smarter contact. That's just kind of I'll go in and blast out a campaign really quick and look and see who I can get. So that might sound super odd to a lot of people, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
But that's what's so great about the platform. It kind of allows you to not have to spend all day in it,
Oh yeah,
able
yeah,
to deploy your campaigns, easily organize your conversations, and narrow down to the important conversations. Of course, that's the whole point. Be efficient, quick, and to the point.
yeah, and especially with having a baby in the house, it's like efficiency is key. Like, I want to be able to walk in my office, log right into Smarter Contact. I mean, I can get a campaign in within like the first like 3 minutes of my day. It's a very, very, very simple software to use. So I do like the efficiency of it.
Nice. Well, do you happen to have any successful conversations or leads that you'd be willing to share or talk about?
Yeah. So let me think back to one. Yeah. So here's how I'll describe it, and I'll show you the conversation from my actual phone. Here's one of my strategies that I use that works a lot. Within Smarter Contact, I'll get someone that's motivated to sell, and I'll have probably a 3 or 4 text conversation with them. And then what I like to do, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but this is one of my secret weapons. I call it blue bubble theory. A lot of people, a lot of sellers that we work with have iPhones. So if you have an iPhone as well, which a lot of real estate investors do, when you text that seller, it's a blue bubble. But if they get 40 other texts from a text blasting software, Lead Sherpa or any other competitor, those bubbles are all going to be green. So what I like to do is switch over the conversation with them to my phone. And then I actually delete them out of Smarter Contact once I have them transferred over, because I'm probably going to reblast that list again. And I don't want to blast the same person again. So I know that sounds a little bit odd, but I'm going to show you the conversation from or starting on my phone after I found them from Smarter Contact.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you
let's
should be able to share. You got the controls.
all right. Give me just a second. This is like the third time that you've actually interviewed me, and every time I have problems with screen share. So don't laugh at me.
Is there a big green button that says share screen at the bottom?
Yes, there will be in a second. Darn it. I got to pull up the text conversation on my computer via iMessage. Dang. Okay. I might not. If I can I hold my screen up to the camera?
Yeah, it should be able to work as well too. Hopefully.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So this deal, just real quick, this was like a $29,000 deal that we did. It was a piece of vacant land. All right. No, it actually kind of works pretty. Oh, is it
That was-
backwards? Yeah, it's backwards. All right. I'll just say the story of it. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand. So I was texting. The guy's name was Miguel. He had a vacant lot. I was like, "Hey, I was texting you from my work phone," and then I put the Smarter Contact phone number. Um, I said, two questions about the lot. So I kind of just hopped right into it with him. I said, was there ever a house on either lot? It was a double lot. And I said, the county appraiser says no, but is often wrong. I said, second, can I buy both lots instead of just one? And he said, yes, there was a house on, or no, there wasn't a house on either lot, but no, you can only buy one of the lots. And I was like, great. I was like, I'd like to get to, I guess I was texting pretty late. I was like, I'd like to get to sleep. We've got a 6-month-old and she keeps us very busy. And I said, before I go to bed, can you just tell me a ballpark of how much you would need to sell? And I said, we can discuss further tomorrow. So what I like to do is really control the conversation. And also I like to humanize myself by saying, hey, I've got a 6-month-old. She keeps me
Yeah.
busy. I'd like to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's really
Uh,
good.
so he said the lot next to the south lot, so two lots over, sold for 180 grand in 2017. And I was like, no, it didn't. So, of course, I'm going to look up the deed. So, one of the things that you never want to do with people is disagree with them by saying, oh, well, hey, that was a double lot or coming off the offensive. So, what I did is I just took a picture of the deed. I straight up took a picture of the deed and I sent it to him. And then I said, hey, Miguel, you are correct. And I said, the legal description, I said, lots 3 and 4 sold for 180, and you have lots 5 and 6. So what I said was two lots sold for 180 grand. You're right. And I said, would you say 90,000 for your lot is fair? And then he said, I'll sell for 105K. And I was like, let me think about that one. So notice how I don't hop on it right away. Get off the keyboard, bro. Come on.
Your cats love attention.
This one does, yeah. Um, so I said, let me think about that one. And I always love to do this. I didn't respond for like 20 minutes. So if you are a new investor and someone gives you a price and you know it's going to work, so my maximum offer was like 120 on this.
Mhm,
Of course, I'm not going to say sure because then he's going to feel like he could have got more money from me, right?
mhm.
So I was like, all right, what do I say back? So I said, I'll meet you at 1025 with the following conditions on here. I know it's backwards, but I just want to hold it up for proof. I said, we close at Haven Title. I'll pay the closing cost. I said, you send me a survey if you have one. That's because my buyer was going to want a survey. I said, we'll close in 35 days or once the lot split is approved by the city. So I was going to split this lot for him, which I've never done before. I had no idea how to do it, but I figured I could probably figure out how to do it, which I did successfully within
Yeah.
2 weeks. And I said, number 4, 7-day inspection. And then I said, also, is there a chance I can buy both lots? I tried to he didn't respond to me. So I texted him later on in the day. I was like, let me know if there's a better time of day to talk. It seems you were very busy. Then he texted me back. He said, 1025 will work. What else he said? He said, will require a $10,000 earnest money deposit. And I was just like, crap. So he said, I'm a dentist. I need the other lot for overflow parking. I can talk now. So he sent me this text while I was driving. So one thing that might be tough for newer real estate investors is if someone asks for 10 grand earnest money, they're basically just asking you to show that you're serious. Now, at the time, I had 10 grand that I could use in my bank account to send over to title, and I felt comfortable holding it there for the 35 days until closing.
Mhm.
So sent it over. But if you are a newer investor, what I would highly recommend you do is get a transactional funder. And if someone wants you to put down a $10,000 earnest money, because I've been asked to put down up to 25 grand on a deal, have your transactional funder put down that 10,000 and work out an agreement with them so that you can get this deal. Because what I did is I wired that 10 grand right over to the title company as soon as we were under contract, and I got him a receipt within an hour. So he knew that I put my money where my mouth is. And that was pretty much his proof. Another thing he said was he's a dentist. So he's going to be a busy, busy guy. He really didn't have too much time to talk. I think I talked to him on the phone once for 5 minutes, but his signal dropped and he was like, just text me. But pretty much went back and forth with him via text. We split the lot. I copied him on all the city emails for that. So this kind of goes back into like my day to day. I involved him on every single step of the process up until like when I close out the deal with him, I said, hey, I know the title agent has this all taken care of, but please send me a text once the wire hits your bank account. Because as wholesalers, our job is not done until that wire hits the
Mhm.
seller's bank account. Um, and it was pretty smooth with him. Like I said, I got the lot split, buyer closed on time. Oh, and to find a buyer for that, I texted one of my VIP buyers, told him what I asked for on that 133,000, and he said sure. And I did not send it to anybody else. I sent it to one guy, and he said yes.
Nice.
So that was pretty much it. Now I know I'm probably making it seem way easier than it actually was, but that was like my 53rd deal maybe. So I've done it a few times and kind of know the process now.
Man, no, that's a great transaction, and great story, man, and obviously a great commission on that one as well too, and got lucky there too, the fact that he had a couple lots, which is great.
I'm still trying to get that other lot from him, but he uses it as parking for his office. So unless I build him a parking garage above his office, which I would do if I was making enough of an assignment fee.
Someday he'll
Yeah,
come around someday, right?
yeah, he'll come back someday. No, you never know. But at least I know, he had a good experience with me. I made sure he was taken care of. He got the money that I promised him. He got it on time, and that's all that matters.
Well, cool, man. That's awesome. Well, look, man, you've been in the game for it's about what 3 years on your own as a wholesaler. What keeps you motivated to stay consistent like every single day? I'm sure there's been days or weeks where it's been slower than others. It's definitely a roller coaster. We all can admit that in our, especially when it comes to real estate. What keeps you motivated to stay consistent, especially in those down weeks where maybe not enough leads are biting or there's just nothing really good in the pipeline for you?
Sure. So that's a great question, Daniel, especially given the year that we've all had. 2020 has been a year from hell for a lot of people. It's been very difficult. There's been curveballs left and right, and still are, and still will continue to be. But for me, a lot of motivating force, like it kind of changes. Um, at first, I would say having like a $1,700 a month student loan payment was a lot of motivation for me to really just work my ass off and pay that down early and get that payment down. Obviously, my wife, who has been there, we've been together for like over 8 years now. She's seen me at my lowest point. She's seen me at my highest point. She's a big motivation. I'm the type of guy that I have to be a provider. I see my responsibility as being like the rock in the family. So especially now that we have a 9-month old, making sure that, she's taking care of things like her college education, things like making sure that her childhood is filled with lots of trips to Disney and just a lot of fun stuff. They're really my driving forces to get me up, every day. And I also want to give a shout out to everyone who in 2020 had a lot of days, weeks, or even months where they woke up feeling not okay and still pushed through it and still got up and went to work. I think a lot of us, I was there a lot of the time this year. It was very difficult for me to just like tune out all the noise and just get deals done. And like probably the last driving force is just proving I can do this to myself. A lot of wholesalers will face this, hopefully less than I did, but rejection. I mean, I failed at so many deals at first and got talked to so bad by so many people. So just proving it to myself that yes, I can do this. Like I'm going to consistently do this like over and over and over. That's been a big driving force. And when you close those deals that, you know, people told you would never close or that, buyers lowballed you on until you finally found that one perfect buyer. It's really nice closing those just to prove it to yourself. It's like, yeah, I can do this. Like I don't need any naysayers. So just kind of a combination of things is what gets me up in the morning. That plus nitro cold brew coffee.
Gotta love that cold brew, man. So then
Absolutely.
what has real estate, like what has going into real estate and leveraging smarter contact done for you, your business and your family?
Smarter contacts is the reason why I get to take like a 2.5 week break at the end of the year right now. So I'm not really working too much today. Smarter contact really allows me to live like the lifestyle that I envisioned, like the perfect lifestyle with like freedom to do whatever I want. I can go anywhere. I can do anything. I can run the business remotely. Um, a lot of the properties that we're closing now in 2020 due to COVID and just because I don't like really going places anymore. We've just been able to do completely virtually. So Smarter Contact just allows me to, you know, run an incredible business just by myself too, and almost do the work that I feel like it would take two or three people to do. Excuse me. Um, but do it all myself within, the 20 hours a week that I spend in Smarter Contact, maybe.
All right, dude, that's awesome. All right, we'll leave off with this one last question, man. If you were to recommend Smarter Contact to a friend, what would you say?
All right, I wrote something down on here because I had some intelligent to say. All right, so dollar for dollar, Smarter Contact gives you the best return on your money. Hour for hour, it will give you the best return on your time. I do believe, and I don't mean to like sound like weird or I I receive no payment for saying this, but I do believe that Smarter Contact is like the Tesla of texting platforms. Um, I think that Adam and you guys, the team, have a very special thing. I think you're all extremely talented. Just the growth of this platform from nothing to what it is now is insane. So for anyone that's just looking to like join an organically grown platform that gives you incredible results and allows you to like live the life that you live, I think Smarter Contact is definitely um, the number one uh, dominating platform in the SMS space.
Dude. Well, thank you so much for the kind words, man. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I think this is absolutely an amazing story that, man, all investors, whether they're new in the game or been in the game for a while and need some more motivation or pick me up, should definitely listen to this. For all those who stayed with us and watched this, if you want to learn more about Smarter Contact, definitely click on the link below. You can get a free 7-day trial. Just like Alex kind of said, the whole purpose of this software is to make it one affordable, but we created it in a way to be efficient for you and easy to use to be able to have that pipeline full of leads. If you want to learn more about Alex and more about us at Smart Contact, definitely check out our YouTube channel at Smarter Contact. Feel free to join our private Facebook group as well too. That's where Alex hangs out and definitely engages with a lot of other investors in there as well too. And Alex, man, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Daniel. And I'm going to shamelessly plug myself really quick in the Facebook group. If you're a newer investor and you're using Smarter Contact and you have a deal in the Tampa or St. Pete area, let me know. I will JV with you and we'll get it closed.
Hey, good plug. Hey, definitely. Yeah, for all of those, if you are in Florida, definitely hit up Alex. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Alex. And hopefully all of you enjoyed this.